Ever kind of look around and wonder, like, where are all the, geniuses these days?
Yeah.
Like, where's the next Einstein or Tesla? Those, figures that just totally revolutionized everything.
Right.
Like, has that sort of individual groundbreaking genius just gone, poof, vanished?
hmm
It's a question I bet you thought about at least once or twice.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it's something we're really going to dig into today.
It's on our minds, for sure.
Okay.
So in this deep dive, we're going to explore a few reasons why it might at least seem that way. Why we don't see these like super obvious geniuses all over the place.
Yeah.
And we've got three main areas we're going to cover. First, we're going to look at just the massive amount of knowledge that exists today compared to like 100 years ago.
Right.
Then we'll talk about how innovation itself has changed. It's gone from these big individual breakthroughs to being much more of team effort.
Yeah, much more collaborative.
Exactly. And finally, we'll look at whether, the way we pay attention to things as a society, how we recognize achievement, if that's changed in a way that maybe hides some of the geniuses that are out there.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. So let's jump right in. And first up, the knowledge avalanche, I like to call it.
I love that.
This kind of setting the stage.
Yeah, for sure. And to really grasp this shift, we have to go back in time a bit. Think about the late 1800s, early 1900s, the era of Tesla and Einstein,
Yeah.
He has Tesla often holed up in his lab, tinkering away, exploring this uncharted territory of electricity. And then you've got Einstein, right, working at a patent office, but wrestling with these huge fundamental questions about space and time.
And I think back then, it felt like those really big questions were still within reach.
Yeah.
For an individual mind, you could really sit there and ponder, like, what is gravity really all about?
Right.
The frontiers of science felt more open in a way
More accessible, yeah.
to individual exploration and discovery.
Absolutely. Now, here's where things get really interesting. What's mind-blowing is how different it is today. Modern science has become incredibly specialized. To make even a small contribution, you often need years of super focused study just to grasp what we already know within a tiny niche field.
Yeah, it's like you got to climb this huge mountain of existing knowledge before you can even like see the peak of what's next.
Exactly. And think about this, the amount of peer-reviewed scientific publications, it basically doubles every 9 years.
Wow, that's crazy.
Right. So a potential genius today doesn't just need to learn a field. They need to navigate this like constantly expanding universe of information just to get to the starting line.
Right. It's not like setting up in your garage and accidentally discovering a new force of nature or something.
No, not anymore.
Those big foundational discoveries like, alternating current or the theory of relativity, those are already made. Today, you're often building on top of those established foundations, which just naturally makes things so much more complicated and usually requires a team. It's like trying to add a new element to the periodic table when it's already like super full and complex.
That's a great analogy.
So for everyone listening, the first takeaway here is that the sheer volume and complexity of knowledge today, it creates a much higher barrier for those big solo breakthroughs than we saw in the past.
Definitely. It's a different landscape now. So a potential genius today faces this massive challenge of just sifting through this ocean of existing information,
Right.
which makes those lone paradigm-shifting discoveries less likely, just because the starting point for any meaningful advancement is so much further down the line.
You're not starting from scratch anymore?
Nope. Okay, so we've talked about how the volume of knowledge makes solo breakthroughs tougher.
Right.
But what about the way we actually do innovation today? It feels less like lone inventor and more like...
It's like a group project now.
Exactly.
Which brings us to our second point, the team-up takeover.
Perfect. This is where we look at the shift from, that romanticized image of the lone genius working away in isolation to the reality of modern innovation, which is very collaborative.
Right.
We have these classic archetypes, right? Tesla working alone, maybe seen as a little eccentric, chasing his own unique vision, or Einstein developing his theories largely by himself, just through the power of thought.
Yeah, they were like the classic lone wolves.
Yeah.
But if you look at how inventions and discoveries happen today, it's a totally different picture.
Oh, yeah, completely.
Think about something like your smartphone.
Yeah.
You probably have one near you right now.
Probably.
That little device that's like your lifeline to the world.
It is.
That's not the creation of one brilliant mind working in a secret lab.
No way.
It's the result of the expertise of so many different specialists.
Yes.
Engineers in all these different fields. You've got software developers, materials, scientists, designers, all bringing their unique knowledge and skills to the table.
You got it.
It's like a symphony of specialized knowledge.
I like that.
And it's not just gadgets either.
Hmm.
Think about something as ambitious as SpaceX, their goal to revolutionize space travel.
Right.
Elon Musk might be the face of it.
Right, the very public
But
face.
behind him is this huge team of incredibly skilled engineers and scientists making it all happen.
Absolutely. And this isn't just a SpaceX thing either. You see this pattern in so many fields. Even areas that you might think are still ripe for individual breakthroughs, like AI or fusion power.
Great cutting edge stuff.
Yeah, progress there is still mostly driven by teams. Big, well-funded, highly specialized teams working together.
So think about this for a second. What does this shift towards team-based innovation mean for how we see genius?
Yes, the question.
If the big breakthroughs now are the result of all these people working together, recognition naturally gets spread out across the team.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that one single person to point to and say, that's the genius who did it.
Right. It's less about the soloist and more about the whole orchestra.
Exactly. And maybe we as a society are still figuring out how to recognize and celebrate that kind of collective brilliance.
That's a good point. It's a different way of thinking about it.
It is. And that leads us to our final point, the spotlight conspiracy.
Ah, yes. This is where things get really interesting. This idea that maybe there are modern geniuses out there making amazing contributions, but the way our society and especially the media work today, it doesn't give them the same platform or level of attention that historical figures got.
Yeah, it's almost like we're not looking in the right places or the right way.
Right. Or maybe the spotlight is just pointed in a different direction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's go back in time again for a sec. When Tesla was doing his public demonstrations of AC power or wireless communication, it was a huge deal.
Front page news.
And the news would spend a lot of time covering it. Same with Einstein. His theories were debated among scientists at first, but eventually they gained widespread recognition and made him a legend.
A household name.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing for you. The media landscape today is completely different from back then. We live in this 24/7 news cycle, this constant stream of information coming from everywhere.
It's overwhelming.
It is. And our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. There's so much competing for our focus.
All the time. From, what's trending on social media to the latest celebrity gossip.
Yeah, you can easily get sucked into that vortex of, the newest viral dance on TikTok or whatever the latest drama is with some billionaire.
Oh, absolutely.
So even if there's a really important scientific breakthrough today, does it actually get the attention it deserves? Does it really reach the public consciousness and make the people behind it famous?
Right. Does it break through all the noise?
That's the question.
And it really makes you think about our societal priorities, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Think about someone like Katalin Karikó. She spent decades doing research that was essential to developing mRNA vaccines.
Right. Those have had a huge impact on global health.
Huge. But her name probably isn't as recognizable as some other more public figures.
That's a great example. Imagine someone today discovering something as big as, say, a practical way to make clean fusion energy.
Wow.
In the old days, that would be front page news for weeks, if not months, or even years.
Right.
People would really understand and recognize the people behind it.
Totally.
But today,
It might be a big headline for a couple days, then get buried under the next viral trend or shocking news story.
it's a scary thought.
It is. So here's what I want you to consider. There might be brilliant people out there right now making groundbreaking discoveries, but they're working outside of this media spotlight that's always focused on the flashy and the immediate instead of the really important long-term stuff.
Right. They might be doing amazing work, but going largely unnoticed.
So the main takeaway here is that just because we don't see these super obvious Einsteins or Teslas walking around today,
Right.
it doesn't mean there's no genius left in the world.
Exactly. Genius might still be out there just expressing itself in different ways, maybe within different structures, and for sure in a completely different information environment. Yeah, maybe we need to adjust our own perspectives a little bit.
Right.
Look beyond that traditional image of the lone inventor toiling away in their lab.
Yeah, break free from the stereotype.
Maybe modern genius is found more often in these younger people who are pushing the boundaries in fields like quantum computing or AI. They're often working in teams as part of bigger research groups.
Right. Or those massive interdisciplinary teams tackling complex global challenges like climate change or finding sustainable energy sources.
Yeah, so it's about looking in the right places.
Absolutely. So this brings us to a really crucial final thought. Could it be that genius hasn't actually disappeared, but it's just become less visible to us? In a world that's completely saturated with information and with a media landscape that often focuses on the surface level and the immediate, rather than the truly profound and lasting.
It really makes you think, right?
Okay.
Maybe the way we as a society consume information and focus our attention is actually causing us to miss some of the most incredible achievements happening right now. Maybe the next groundbreaking mind is out there working away, just waiting for the spotlight to find them.
Hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, it's definitely something to ponder, and maybe something to motivate us to look a little deeper.
Be more mindful about where we direct our attention.
Exactly. Because who knows what we might find?
Who knows? You might be surprised.
You might be.
Food for thought.
Definitely.
And until next time, keep those minds curious.
And keep looking for those hidden geniuses. They might be closer than you think.
They might be.
All right. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
As always, a pleasure.
We'll catch you next